Now, listen, most of us have had a bad night before. Maybe you had a little too much to drink. Maybe you got into an argument that went way too far. Maybe you made a decision you wish you could take back. But imagine one bad night turning into a lifetime behind bars. Imagine one bad night ending with 6 gunshots, a dead police officer, and you're sitting in the courtroom hearing the words, death sentence. Not once, not twice, but 4 different times. And the wildest part, it all started with what should have been a simple arrest and a woman who made one thing very clear that night. Sis said she wasn't going back to jail. This is the story of Andrea Hicks Jackson. Hey y'all, and welcome back to Melanin Mysteries. Welcome back to a brand new episode of One Bad Night. I am your host, Tiffany, aka T, aka TG, aka Detective Lightskin. Just please, and I say please, just don't call me Tiff. Now, if you are new here, the One Bad Night series is where we talk about those moments where one decision, one situation, or one night goes completely left, and it changes somebody's life forever. Because sometimes it's not about years of bad choices. Sometimes it's just one night where everything just spirals out of control. Now, we are still in National Women's History Month, and apparently this month has turned into a whole series of stories about women who absolutely crashed the fuck out. And listen, when I say crashed out, I mean crashed out. Because how else do you explain somebody being sentenced to death? Not once, not twice, but 4 separate times. So we are going to go ahead and get straight right in and start talking about who Andrea was. Now, her name, she was born Andrea Hicks, later known as Andrea Hicks Jackson, aka Felice, and she was born February 26, 1958, somewhere around Jacksonville, Florida. Now, listen, I don't have a whole ancestry report on her, but what we do know is she was raised with her mama, and her mama had a rotation. Men in, men out, new man, next man. Like, sis was running a soft launch before Instagram even existed. Like, it sounded like a whole Dr. Seuss book. And unfortunately, during all that, Andrea ended up taking the brunt of it. She ends up being sexually abused from about the age of 9 to around 15 by, we don't know if it was one or more of these men. And let me be real for a second, because I don't joke about this part. That kind of trauma will seriously mess with a child's development. That's not something you just get over. But what we are going to do is clock how it showed up later. Because in middle school, this child, Andrea, she was on heroin. I have a middle schooler. She's 14. I couldn't even 14 and strung out on heroin in middle school. That is wild. So this point, we're not talking about experimenting. We're talking about somebody is already trying to mentally check out of life before she even started living it. And as she got older, sis was not picky. If she could get high, she was trying. And I mean, she was drugs, alcohols, vibes, chaos, whatever was going to take her out of reality for a minute. And for real, we got to be honest. When you grow up dealing with that kind of trauma, it can really show up in how you move. Your relationships, they're complicated. Your decision making is questionable. Your coping skills, they damn near non-existent. Now, somewhere along the way, and don't ask me when because the timeline is a little raggedy, but she ends up marrying a man named Sheldon Jackson. And they had 2 sons together. I don't know their names, but she had one somewhere around 77 and the other around 79. So on the outside, it's like, okay, maybe she's settling down. But child, that household, a mess. Neighbors said they used to fight all the time. And I don't mean they were arguing. I mean full on WWE SmackDown in the living room. Like every other day, somebody was getting swung on. And let me clear this up real quick, because I know people like to spin narratives. This was not just him putting his hands on her, because Andrea was swinging too. Sis was active in the chaos. But this is a quote that had took me out, because it was according to one of her neighbors. She said, quote, Andrea usually lost the fight and got beat up. But I ain't mad at you. So at least you fought back. You gonna get up. We gonna be Ike and Tina. You gonna get up off of me. So yeah, it was mutual combat, but she wasn't winning them rounds, and he should have kept his hands to his damn self anyway. But now, this is where things get real telling. So people said when she was sober, oh, she was cool. She was real friendly. She was talkative. Probably somebody you could chill, laugh, and joke with. But baby, you add in some alcohol or some drugs, she was a whole different person, unlocked. And I mean mean, violent, and aggressive, like attitude on 1,000 and patience on -5. She was the type where you like, yeah, let me go ahead and get up out of here before this turns into something that's gonna go left. And when you mix that with drugs, trauma, and a relationship that's already toxic, baby, you ain't getting no peace. You're gonna get a situation that's just building and building and building, and it's waiting for the exact wrong moment for everything to go completely left. And unfortunately for Andrea, that moment was coming. So, boom, let's go ahead and slide into where everything went all the way to hell. We're in Jacksonville, Florida. It's May 16th, 1983. And it's in the evening. It's about 6:45 p.m. And Andrea ends up calling the police saying somebody done vandalized her car and she need to make a report. Mm-hmm. Okay, girl. So that's the story we're going to go with, okay? Because I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all what's really had happened that night, right? So earlier that day, Andrea had taken her car up to Rocket Motors. And they hit that with the classic, baby, we about to stress you out speech. You know, the one you go in thinking everything fine. You done went in for oil change and they come back like, yeah, so that's going to be about $3,000. Your car is basically falling apart. And honestly, you may want to look at getting a new one. Like, I swear that happened to me the other week. I went in for an oil change. They was like, oh, you need tires, you need brakes, you need a serpentine belt, you need windshield wipers. I was like, God damn, I came in here to spend $80, $90 for my oil change. Like, sir, please. Like, is my car on life support? Like, you go into the dealership for something simple. Like, why are you trying to put me back in debt? I just got rid of this goddamn car note. Like, but that's how they get you, though. You go in for an oil change and you leave out with a payment plan and a goddamn headache. So, okay, so this is how in my mind, I'm like, okay, they probably done tell Andrea everything under the sun is wrong with her car. And she like, yeah, absolutely not. Because whether she couldn't afford it or she just ain't want to be playing, I ain't even mad at her. But she said that car was about to turn into a an insurance type situation, if you know what I mean. Allegedly. Now, we're going to go ahead and add another layer of mess to this because on top of that, Andrea was already irritated, right? Sis had said she had tried to get some dick from her husband earlier and he was like, no. He told her no. So we're going to recap this real quick. Your car raggedy. Your mechanic just stressed you out. Now you can't even get no dick at home. Yeah, crash out loading immediately. So what does Andrea do? She go outside and she starts beating on her own car like it personally offended her. Like it was the car who said she couldn't get no dick. She was outside. Like they said this girl was 38 hot. Like I said, she was not, it wasn't a little tap or a little dent, like she wasn't kicking the tire. No, she went full on destruction mode. Baby, them windows, they was busted out. Her battery snatched out. License plate removed like she was trying to start over with a new identity. Ma'am, do you know this is your car? And I don't know if I mentioned it, but she lives in an apartment complex. So you know the neighbors outside being nosy as hell because this is the 80s. There ain't no social media. The entertainment is outside. I'm telling you, folks probably sitting there like, so we just gonna act like she not here fighting her own car because what is going on? So after she done tore this car all the way up, she calls the police talking about somebody done vandalized. I mean, but she didn't lie because somebody did vandalize it. But girl, it was you. Mm-hmm. So when the officer he pulls up, he sees Andrea, he sees the car, and like I said, baby, that car was beat the hell up. Okay, and right off the bat is giving this story ain't making sense. So the officer that pulls up, his name is Officer Gary Bevel. And he's pulling up like, any regular call. He got his handy dandy notebook out. He got his pen ready. Probably take a report and go about his business. He probably thinking it's about to be quick. Yeah, no. So Andrea starts telling him, like, yeah, somebody vandalized my car. I just want to make a report, like, maybe get it towed. I just I just need a report so I can file this with my insurance company. And he's like, okay, well, let's go ahead and walk through the steps. So he asked for her license, registration, all that regular police stuff. And she's like, let me go upstairs to my apartment and go get my registration because I don't have that on me. So he's like, okay, no problem. Take your time. Go ahead upstairs. And while she's upstairs, now you already know what's going on because this is an apartment complex. And Black folks, we do not miss a show. You know, there was curtains cracked, doors slightly open, people standing outside. They had just happened to be there, but really they was catching every detail. So Officer Bevel over there, he's talking to the neighbors like, hey, did anybody see what happened? You know, we need to get a list of suspects in case, you know, we have to arrest somebody for vandalism. And you know, somebody auntie or somebody granny done spoke up like, baby, ain't nobody do that. She tore that car up herself. Because be for real, y'all watched her beat that car like it cheated on her. So by the time Andrea comes back downstairs, Officer Bevel done already got the tea, and he like, yeah, no, you ain't about to play in my face today. So he tell her like straight up, like, look, I know you did this shit to your own car, and I'm going to place you under arrest for filing a false police report. But this is the kicker, y'all. He wasn't rough with her. He wasn't yelling. He wasn't slamming her around. The man didn't even bother to put cuffs on her. Like, he was going to politely have her get in the back seat of the car and they could go downtown to the station and handle it. That should have been real simple, right? Real easy. Should have been the end of it. But baby, this is where sis said absolutely not. She was not going back to jail. And be for real, this wasn't her first rodeo. Like, I mean, she had been locked up before, but it was nothing crazy. Like, it was nothing serious. Mostly like writing bad checks. Because, you know, back in the day, that was all you could do. Like, I mean, you know, there was no money in there. I mean, you just write a check, and if it bounced, it bounced. You just be like, well, whatever. So apparently she got caught up in that. But like I said, it really wasn't like enough to be like this hype about going back to jail. But anyway, she said, I done been there, done that, and I ain't doing it again. And she said, I'm not revisiting that experience. So she was like, okay, 1 second. And then she acts like she dropped something. So she's like, I need to bend down, like acting like she better pick up her keys. But baby, when she popped back up, this bitch popped back up with a gun. And before he can even process what's happening, sis starts shooting. And she ain't let off just one shot. She ain't let off two. She didn't let off three. Not four, not even five, 6 shots. And 4 of them hit this man in the head over a car and a lie. And the fact that she didn't want to go back to jail. Like, do you see how fast that escalated? Because 1 minute he's out here with his little handy dandy notebook, and the next minute this man is fighting for his life. All because sis decided she wasn't going back to jail. Now let's pause here for a second, because if you thought that Andrea had already fucked him, oh baby, we just getting into it. Like, it gets way worse. Like, life changing, ain't no coming back from this shit type of worse. So the officer, like we said, his name was Officer Gary Bevel. And I need y'all to really hear me when I say this, because this was not just some cop. He was only 29 years old. Baby, he was still a rookie. He had only been on patrol for less than 2 years. His birthday was July 2nd, 1954. He was born in Darlington, South Carolina, and he had moved to Jacksonville in 1973 and started working as a correctional officer at the Duval County Jail. So he wasn't new to this. He had already been in the field, putting in work, you know, building his career up or whatever. He actually had graduated from the Criminal Justice Center in December of 1981. And to top it off, he had a whole degree in computer programming from Massey Business College. Now, I don't know what kind of computers they had back then, because I don't know, we couldn't do much. I don't even know what computers looked like back then, because I remember in the early 90s, it was like this big blocky thing, and then the screen was black, and then it had green across. So I don't even know what I'm like, I thought that was like ancient, so I don't even know what it could have been in the 70s and the 80s. Yeah, I don't even know. But anyway, I say, let's be clear, because Gary had options. Like, he chose this. And just for context, yes, he was one of us. He was melanated. He was one of only 82 Black officers on the force at this time. And that was actually part of the reason he was even out there on patrol, was because the department was trying to increase the number of minority officers in certain areas so the community would feel more comfortable. Now, by all accounts, they say Gary was quiet. He was respectful, very low key, not loud or extra. Just the type to handle his business and, you know, keep it moving. He's trying to come in, do his job, get a check, and go home. I ain't mad at him. But don't get it twisted, because he wasn't soft either. They said he played tailback for the police's department's Magnum football team, so he was athletic. And his supervisor spoke very highly of him across the board. Like, so he was solid. He had a good reputation. There wasn't no nonsense. And outside of the job, he was somebody's son. He was a brother. He was one of 7 kids. He had 3 brothers, 3 sisters. And at the time, he was living with his mom and his younger brother in an apartment in Jacksonville. And then this is the saddest part. I can't even say the saddest part, but it was just really sad. He was engaged at a time to a woman named Hazel Thompson. So this man like had plans in a marriage and he had life moving forward. And, he's just out trying to do his job. Like, I'm not one of those people who hates the police. Like, I just feel like just like there's anything else. There's good people, police, there's bad police. There's good pastors, there's bad pastors. There's good presidents. Okay, never mind. That's a horrible combination because they ain't all great. I can't name a great. Okay, we're gonna scrap that analogy. But you know what I'm trying to say. There's good in everything, and there's bad in everything. Because if something go wrong, who you calling? If we defund the police, who you calling? Who are you calling? So we need to be like real clear about that. I don't support that mission, but just saying. So to make this even crazier, this man was shot on Police Memorial Day. I didn't even know that was a thing. I never heard of it until I came across this case. But apparently what it was a day that is literally meant to honor officers who lost their lives in the line of duty. And he actually was the 37th Jacksonville officer killed in the line of duty since 1900, which I'm like, I think it's I don't know what the statistics are, but I was just like 37 and 83 years. I don't think that's a crazy statistic. I don't know. But anyway, after being shot 5 times, he was taken to University Hospital and he passed away just after midnight at 12:38 a.m. on May 17th, 1983. And I already know what some of y'all are probably thinking. Why didn't he search her? Why didn't he cuff her immediately? So first off, back then policies were different. Like male officers were like really discouraged and in some cases not allowed to search women because it can be considered inappropriate and open the door to lawsuits. So they just trying to cover their ass. I can get it. I see it. And it was actually one of his fellow officers, like after all this had went down, he literally came out and said, look, I'm searching everybody else because he's like, I'm trying to go home at night. And I get it because, you're just trying to do your job and you're trying to be, keep that line of decorum and be respectful and you end up losing your life and you ain't even did nothing. So, like I said, what we're looking at this point is an officer doing his job, following procedures, just trying to handle the situation calmly. And unfortunately, it cost this poor man his life. And again, apartments, nosy neighbors, equal witnesses, and one or more of them called the police when those shots rang out because somebody saw something. And now at this point, you would think that after shooting a police officer, maybe I should sit my ass down some goddamn where. Be quiet. Think about my life choices. Oh no, this doesn't apply to Andrea because instead of immediately disappearing, first of all, Sis goes back inside like, man, what are you doing? You just shot a cop in your next movie to go back upstairs? Then she goes over to an apartment of a woman named Shirley Ann Freeman. And child, while she's washing her clothes. Yeah, you heard me, washing her clothes. Like this is a regular Tuesday night. And while she's in there, she straight up tells Shirley, like, yeah, I just shot a cop. And she's like, because I ain't want to go back to jail. Because you know what? I don't like men touching me. Just real casual like that. Like, girl, what the hell you just said to me? And the whole time, mind you, she still got this 22 caliber gun on her. This is the same gun that she had used to shoot Officer Bevel. Now, Miss Shirley ain't want that mess around her house. So she went ahead and called Andrea a cab and she gave Andrea some money for said cab. And she said, you ain't got to leave, but you got to get the hell up out of here. So Andrea, she takes her gun with her and she decides she's about to make her big escape. So she gets in the cab and the driver's a man named Carl Lee Jr. So she gets in the back seat and she tells him she wants to go to the bus station. So Carl's like, okay, no problem. But by this point, it's like super late at night. So he's trying to be helpful. Like, hey, are you sure you want to go to the bus station this time of night? Is there somewhere else I can take you? Basically just trying to make sure she's good. Meanwhile, this man has no idea. He got a whole situation in his backseat. So like I said, he went to look back. The man even pulled over. But this is what takes me out. Because somehow this lady done fell asleep in the back of this cab. You're sleeping? Ma'am, you are on the run after shooting a cop and you're taking a nap? Now, I don't know the rules of being a fugitive, but I feel like one step is stay awake, be alert, be paranoid. I need you to be something. But no. Sits in the backseat, knocked out like she just clocked out for a long shift. So at some point, Carl pulls over near 20th and I-95 and he like stops and he's trying to wake her up because he's trying to see if there's somewhere else he can take her. And baby, when I tell you that woman woke up on demon time, baby, snap, crackle, and popped on his ass, literally. Like, the man just tried to wake you up. Why are we escalating again? That's that paranoid, jittery, I don't know what the hell going on, junkie type shit. So somehow they end up outside the car and they are tussling, literally tussling. The situation got out of control. And here she go again, pull out that same goddamn 22, and she starts shooting again. By now, it's almost 4:30 in the morning. Like, girl, you are really doubling down tonight, ain't you? Now, thankfully, she didn't hit Carl, but she did shoot up his cab, busted out his windshield before running into the night. At this point, this is just chaos. Like, you doing the absolute freaking most. I mean, I guess she said go hard to go home, right? Because my God, you did all that running just to get caught up in another shooting? Damn. Was this in the plans? Did we have a plan before we did all this? Because this is just chaos, right? But look, it ain't even 30 minutes later after that she done shot up this man's cab, because I'm sure he done had to try to radio in, like, hey, it's that crazy. They be like on Friday, hey, that crazy bitch out there again. Somebody needs to come and get her. So it wasn't even 30 minutes later after she done shot up that poor man's car and threatened his life, and she's finally arrested. Blessed Black Jesus. But let me tell you something. They was not playing with them charges. You just took an officer of Jacksonville. They don't care if he black or not. Maybe you took one of theirs. They coming for that ass. So she is hit with a first-degree murder charge for the murder of Officer Gary Bevel. She ain't got no bail. She went straight to jail. No $200. Goodbye, ma'am. And then not too long after that, they was just like, you know, we gonna spin the block and we gonna tack on an attempted murder for the cab driver too, Mr. Carl Lee Jr. Yes, because let's not forget, she didn't shot at two people in the same night. But wait, because somehow the mess spreads. I remember her husband Sheldon, we told y'all about, yeah, he got caught up too, because apparently after all, somewhere in all of this, Andrea had made her way back to his apartment and was hiding out up under the steps, and that's where he had found her at. Like, man, what kind of hide and seek is this? She just got too much going on for my taste. So Sheldon ends up getting arrested and charged with aiding an escape and accessory after the fact. Now, I don't know if he thought he knew what was going on, but baby, you picked the wrong night to be a supportive husband, okay? Y'all got kids. Focus on them kids. Now, here's where things take another turn, because Andrea ends up having two separate trials. The first one, it starts on November 1st, 1983, and this is for the attempted murder of Carl Lee Jr., the cab driver. And her defense, they said it was self-defense. That was the defense they went with. They basically said that when Carl tried to wake her up, she believed he was trying to attack her, so she started firing. Now, mind you, by this time, it's almost 4:30 in the morning. There's no witnesses, there's no bystanders, no nobody nosy neighbors around at this point. It's just her and Carl. And the only physical evidence they have is the bullets that shattered his windshield. So it really comes down to his word versus hers. And when I tell y'all, this next part had me like, hold on, wait a minute, because listen, y'all know she was found not guilty? Like, she was acquitted. The trial was only one day. Sis beat that case. Wild. I know, right? But don't get too excited, because she had a much bigger problem waiting on her. She still had to stand trial for the murder of Officer Gary Bevel. Baby, that's where this really hits the fan. Because let me tell you something, they ain't play around back then, clearly, because the wheels of justice in the 80s was on speed. Let's not forget, the murder happened in May of 1983. By November, she's on trial twice in 2 weeks, matter of fact, because her trial started November 14th, 1983. They are not playing with this lady. They need to bring this type of energy back now, because there is no reason you should be sitting waiting for trial for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years. It's ridiculous. So her defense, oh baby, they tried it. They really tried it. They basically painted Andrea as somebody who was struggling. You know, she has mental issues, she has addiction issues, you know, heavy drug usage. Saying at the time of the shooting, she was high and didn't fully understand what she was doing. Now, that trial lasted a little bit longer, but it wasn't that long. But let me just tell y'all something. When the jury came back on this one, baby, they was like, yeah, no, guilty. First degree. And in 1984, Andrea Hicks Jackson was sentenced to death. Like, girl, you are officially on death row. Like they said, welcome to Death Row Records, baby. Ain't no way you leaving out of here but in a casket. And then this is where the story goes from serious to straight what the fuck up is happening. Because Andrea is actually scheduled to be executed on May 9th, 1989. Like I said, they are not playing no games with you. There are people sitting on death row who have been sitting for 30, 40 years. They gave this lady 6 years. They was not playing. The clock was ticking. The date is set, and then boom. 5 days before May 4th, 1989, the Florida Supreme Court is like, hold on. And they grant her an indefinite stay of execution. Girl, what Black Jesus was holding your hand that day. And the reason was they said that the testimony from a former sheriff during her original trial was inappropriate. So now we got to go do this shit again. So we're going to fast forward to late 1991. She goes back to court. This time it's just for sentencing. So the jury looks at everything and again says, death penalty. Damn. Fast forward to 92. She's sentenced to death for the second time. And you would think that would stick, right? You're wrong. Because in 1994, the Florida Supreme Court overturns it again. They're saying that the judge messed up by describing the murder as, quote, cold, calculated, and premeditated in a way that influenced the jury. So now we're splitting the block again. 1995 rolls around, third jury. Guess what they say? They get this bitch a death penalty again. And I know at this point, this bitch, like, if y'all gonna take me out, just take me the fuck out. But this is just goddamn ridiculous. And I know she had to be tired of going to court. But wait, we're not done. Because in 1996, the sentence gets overturned again. And this time it was because Judge Moran, he's the one who has been presiding over all of her cases, didn't properly explain his reasoning for giving her the death penalty. Like, what did you want me to say? Sir, have your paperwork in order. So now we got to do this shit again. In 1998, the fourth time she is sentenced to death again. And I know y'all thinking like, okay, this has got to be the last one. Nah. Because January 1999, here comes the Florida Supreme Court. Like, they was like, yeah, no, her rights were violated. Y'all said what? It was at one of her cases, she wasn't allowed to attend the hearing. So guess what? They overturned it again. Baby, this is 4 death sentences for the same case. This is crazy. I have never seen anything like this before. Okay, so at this point, the court system is like playing ping pong with her life. I know sis had to be mentally exhausted. Like, you are on a mental freaking roller coaster. Like, you don't know what to do. Your family don't know what to do. The victim's family is like traumatized, like going through all of this over and over. Like, this is spanned over a decade at this point. Like, y'all got everybody goddamn stressed. Now, like I said, during all of this, she was sitting on death row. At the time, there were only 7 women on death row in Florida. And Andrea was one of them, like I said. And she had an attorney that was going to bat for her, like clearly putting in the work to keep her, trying to keep her off of death row. And Andrea herself even said in 1997 that she knew she deserved to be in prison because taking a life is wrong. Mind you, she had gotten baptized, I believe it was in 1986, and she had given her life over to God. So kudos to you on that one. Like I said, she knew she deserved to be in prison, but she said herself that she didn't believe it was a death penalty case. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the death penalty. Like, I really feel like it needs to be reserved for like serial killers or people who commit crimes against children. Like, that's my take on it. But I don't know. Like, I'm very weird about the death penalty. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it should be for like just the most heinous of the heinous of the heinous, because that's a psychological thing. You knowing that your death date is coming, and I think that psychological damage does more to you than just standing there waiting around to die. But then again, being sentenced to, I don't think you should get life. Like, I think they need to start tacking on numbers to people. Like, you get 3,872 years. That means you're never getting out. And I think that that's what they need to start doing with people instead of giving them life, because they get life and they get parole. Okay, let me get back on track. Okay, so anyway. Now, life on death row was not easy. Like, she talked about having severe back pain, like barely being able to move, only leaving her cell to shower, walk a few steps, or go to the visitation room. Like, she was very much confined. And here's another wild fact. Florida had actually not executed a woman since slavery had been abolished. So Andrea was like actually on track to, when she first got the death row, be the first woman in modern history to have a death warrant signed. Crazy. But then like I said, her legal team, they kept fighting for her, and they were bringing up the mitigating factors in her case, her addiction, her drinking. Should I even call it people she used to do drugs with up to the to testify on her behalf? Why you would call some never mind. Which never mind. I guess it was part of their strategy. But anyway, finally, after years of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, we get to the year 2000, Y2K. January 28th, 2000, the Florida Supreme Court, them niggas was fed the fuck up. And they were like, this is just enough. Okay. Her rules, her rights violated again. But this time, they were like, we just gonna take the death penalty off the table because we sick of this shit. We ain't gonna keep doing this back and forth. Like, we about to just go ahead and do this. So she actually ends up being sentenced to life in prison. Finally. But no, we're not done yet. Now, fast forward to 2007. She has her first parole hearing. And see, this is why I don't like giving somebody life, because y'all need to start putting years on this shit, because here they are up for parole. But don't get excited, because they gave her a release year. The parole board gave her a release year. They said her release date for the year of 2108. So we were in 2025. And they gave that to her in 07, 2108. I like it. So at that parole hearing, they had, law enforcement, prosecutors, like the sheriff that was on her original case. Everybody, they spoke against her being released. And to this day, she's still in prison. And she's currently being held at the Lowell Annex in Florida, and she will likely remain there for the rest of her life unless she can magically, live until 2108. I don't know. I saw something today where they said that they found something where they think they can expand people's life for another 200 years. Baby, don't do me like that. I don't, because then y'all gonna be trying to raise the retirement age, and y'all gonna say I can't get Social Security. No, go ahead, let me live. Just let me be. But anyway. Now she's in her late 60s. I think she's like 68. And when you think about it, she went in at 25. So her sons, they're grown. Like, they're good and grown. They're in their, 50s? So last thing I saw was back in 1997. The younger one had graduated high school, and her older one had joined the Navy. But beyond that, it's not much that's like publicly known. And as for her husband, Sheldon, the one who got caught up in all her mess, there is like no clear public outcome on what really happened with his charges. And just like that, one bad night turned into a lifetime in prison, a man losing his life in a case that went through the system way too many goddamn times. It almost don't even make sense. All because she made one decision and refused to go back to jail. Now, to date, I think that has been the craziest one bad night case. We've only had, this is only the fourth one. I don't know. This one is by far has like topped the other ones. I thought the last one I did with Shantae Mallard was crazy because, girl, why are you rolling around with a man in your windshield? Like, that was wild to me. But this one right here, I don't even know what to say. But this was a lot. And I think it was more so the death penalties. Like, how many times are you gonna sentence somebody to death? Like, girl, like, gracious. So anyway, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of One Bad Night. I would love case suggestions. You can leave case suggestions on the new website, melaninmysteries.com. Please go over there and check it out. I actually designed that entire website by myself. in 2 weeks. Like, and I'm so very proud of it. Like, I sent it to my cousin. He actually is like an animator for Disney, and he was like, "Who created this?" And I was like, "I did." And he was like really excited, and I was just like, "Oh my god!" Like, somebody, I actually did it all on my own. So I'm very very proud of it. So go over there, hit me up. You can connect with me over there. You can submit cousin confessions. You can submit case suggestions. And like I said, I am really working on a weekly blog. I did do the very first episode, so I believe by the time this one comes out, you should have already, if you subscribe, you should already have the very first. I think I'm calling it the cousin vibes. I don't know. I haven't gotten that far yet, but make sure you go over there, sign up, let's connect. I have a whole lot of stuff that I would like to share with y'all. You can follow on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Melanin Mysteries Podcast. That's where the visuals will be, so you can see pictures of everything. You can join the Melanin Mysteries Love, Lies, and Alibis discussion group on Facebook. We kiki and all that stuff over there. And again, I just want to thank you so much for listening and kicking it with me for another episode. And I will be back in 2 more weeks with another crazy case. And I will catch y'all on Monday for our main case. Like I said, if you are feeling it in your spirit, it would mean the absolute world to me if you could leave a 5-star review wherever you are listening. Specifically, y'all on Apple. I don't know what it is with Apple listeners and y'all not leaving these reviews, but if you could please go, could do it, because like my Spotify is like ridiculously higher than Apple. So I would appreciate that. So like I said, I'm Tiffany. I will holler at y'all in another 2 weeks. And like I said, just don't do nothing crazy, please and thank you.